So, my last video seems to have caused a kerfuffle, a large banging noise, and people don't seem to get it. Generational is you are absolutely easily the best of your generation, and when I talked about goaltenders who revolutionized the game and changed the way it was played, all right, a little bit vague. But right away, the Marty Brodeur people came out, even though I mentioned Brodeur. Brodeur gets an honorable mention. For me, he wasn't generational. Then it was, well, he was a puck handler. Yeah, the best puck handling goaltender was Ron Hextall. It's not even close. Because Hextall will take your head off with a stick, too, while he was at it. And while I didn't agree with it, I remember him trying to behead Chris Chelios. And it was one of the few times I was glad somebody didn't hit Chelios. I was not a Chelios fan at the time. But there's a chart. See, because there's a divide. And there's been a divide in hockey stat world for a long time. Was Marty Brodeur the greatest goaltender of all time? Is he top 5? Or was Marty Brodeur fortunate to play behind the New Jersey defense that protected him from facing shots? This is a chart behind me that I pulled off hockeyreference.com. It's up to date. These are the number of games that goaltenders have faced 40 or more shots. You'll notice Roberto Luongo's number 1 with 114. Cujo is next with 92. Cujo loved facing lots of shots. Cujo played best facing lots of shots. Went to Detroit where he faced less shots and didn't play as well. I really have a hard time thinking of another goalie that struggled because he's not facing enough shots. Then I put down some interests. Ryan Miller is 6th with 67. I would imagine that's 67 games while he was with the Canucks because it's just been a porous defense in front of him. He won't have that problem in Anaheim. Kari Lehtinen with 65. Craig Anderson is number 8 on this list with 64. And this is a list that's current right back to 1918. So these are the goalies who faced the most 40 shots or more games of all time since we started recording it. Cam Ward's at 11th with 53. Marc-Andre Fleury is 16th with 48. Mike Smith, 48. Smith has played... It comes down to difference in games. So 48 times he's faced 40 or more shots. Patrick Roy's 21st with 46. And I will say this. Patrick Roy was also fortunate for the most part. He played behind very good Montreal teams, and then when Montreal was going through kind of a transition phase under Mario Tremblay, he left. And he went to a very, very good Colorado team. He did not have to worry about facing a lot of shots a lot of nights. Hasek's next at 28 with 41. Hasek, though, his career started much later. If he had come over to the NHL when he was 21 or 22, he'd be probably up in the 60s. He'd probably be up in this range. Carey Price is 30th with 41. He's definitely going to face 40 or more shots a few times this year. Carey Price, showing why I think he's one of the best goaltenders in the league. James Reimer is 36th. He's faced 40 or more shots 36 times in his career. It's not that long of a career. Glenn Healy is 39th with 32. And Marty Brodeur, in 1,200 games played, faced 40 or more shots 31 times. I do not take away from Brodeur that he is the all-time leader in wins and shutouts. That he's the all-time leader in games played. I will grant you he's one of the 10 greatest goaltenders of all time. I can't put him top 5. I can't. Because there were too many nights where I'd watch a Devils game, he'd get a shutout, and I'd think, well, I think he had a couple of shots that were tough. But I'd have to think back. Because the system that started with Jacques Lemaire, and Larry Robinson coached a very good defensive game as well. And almost every coach that came through New Jersey was geared towards defensive help for the goaltender. Corey Schneider hasn't had that benefit in New Jersey. One of the biggest differences between the Brodeur legacy and what Corey Schneider's been putting up with in New Jersey is that the defense is not what it was. I'm not arguing that Brodeur wasn't a great goaltender. I am saying that to put Brodeur in the same category as some of these other guys who were facing 40 and sometimes 50 and higher amount of shots in a night is just ridiculous. The guys ahead of him on this list, Stefan Fissé faced more shots more regularly. Kirk McLean's 31 on the list. Bob Essens is 32. Ken Reggett is 27th on the list. Steve Mason's 26th. Jeff Hackett's 25th. Ron Tugnut, 24th. Playing behind a good defense helps your stats. And not only that, but Marty Brodeur's stick handling was great. I would put him second, right ahead of Turco. The only distinguisher between Brodeur and Turco is sometimes Turco would come out and play the puck, and you'd go, "Oh God, don't." And I very rarely had that experience watching Marty Brodeur, not Marty Turco. Marty Turco, it was about once a game. I'd be like, "What's he doing? What are you doing? No, get back in your net. Don't." And if you're a Canucks fan, you had that experience every single time Dan Cloutier decided, "I think I can play the puck." No, Dan, you can't. You can't. Don't. Get back in. Don't. And I literally would be jumping off my couch going, get back in the net. Get back in the net, Dan. You can't. Don't. Oh, God, it's in the net. And you could just, while the other team's celebrating, you could almost picture Cloutier going, I really thought I could play that. And Jose Theodore was another one that was sometimes an adventure with the puck, too. The trapezoid has been bad for the NHL. I'm also going to use this video to say the trapezoid's been bad. Because, yes, it was created to keep Turco, Brodeur, goaltenders like that in their crease. But it has led to more dangerous hits and corners because guys are racing for pucks that otherwise a goaltender would throw out. And goaltenders screwed up a lot. You see a guy go behind his net. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and play this. What? Oh, it's in my net. Oh, God, I missed that, didn't I? There's cameras everywhere. Oh, everybody saw that. Brodeur was good at it. But I remember in 2007 when Brodeur got the Vezina trophy over Luongo, that there were a lot of Canuck fans, myself included, who felt that award went to Brodeur because he played on the East Coast. Voters saw the East Coast games more. Brodeur had won it before. Once you've won an award in the NHL, it's easier to win it a second or third time. Because voters are like, yeah, he had a good year, and he's won it before. And it can be really hard for a goalie to break through. I've always felt bad for Luongo that he didn't get that Vezina in 2007 because he should have. And, he faced a lot of shots in Vancouver, and that was a really crappy Vancouver team. And he really dragged it to the playoffs. I mean, the most iconic picture of this guy, number one with 114 games of facing 40 or more shots, was Vancouver Canucks 2007 playoff team. Their playoff team photo. It's an empty bench with Luongo sitting at one end. The greatest picture in the history of the internet. I laughed so hard because it's true. And then he drags them out through the first round against Dallas. Turco has the best round of hockey Marty Turco has or will ever play, and he gets outdueled by Roberto Luongo. The second round, they face Anaheim, a juggernaut, a team that's going to cruise to the Stanley Cup in 2007. And Luongo has a stomach bug that gets to him. He's got some attack of diarrhea that sends him off to the dressing room. So they have to put the backup in. The backup plays well for like a minute and a half. Luongo goes back in. Probably still not feeling great. Allows a goal. And all the Canucks fans just couldn't wait to dump on him. Oh, what are we paying him for? He's supposed to save that. Well, he did get distracted. But in his defense, it was the only mistake he made the entire playoffs. He just picked the wrong time to have it. So it all depends on perspective. For New Jersey Devils fans who watch Brodeur for decades, oh, he's the greatest ever. And I understand that point of view, and I understand that. And I've said in all of these videos I do that this is just one man's opinion. But in my opinion, a guy, Luongo, has had 82 more games. No, 83 more games where he's faced 40 or more shots than Brodeur. And he's nowhere near Brodeur in games played. Not even close. Perception is a big thing. I always said when Roberto was in Vancouver and Canucks fans were crapping on him every time they'd get knocked out of the playoffs, I always said if Luongo had been drafted by the Detroit Red Wings, played his entire career as a Red Wing, he would have won multiple Stanley Cups, and he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer, no questions asked, and he would be talked about as one of the 10 greatest goaltenders of all time. Marty was a good goaltender. He was a great goaltender. He was also a fortunate goaltender. He was in the right organization at the right time. If Marty had been drafted by and played for the Hartford Whalers, I don't think we're having this conversation. I don't. If he'd been drafted by the Winnipeg Jets before they moved to Phoenix, I don't think we're having this conversation. Quebec Nordiques, maybe. Then when they went to Colorado when they were the Avs, and this Patrick Roy guy came in and didn't have to face as many shots. Yeah. Sure. But remember, Patrick Roy played about 200 less games than Brodeur. So while I'm saying, yeah, Roy didn't face as many shots, Brodeur faced a lot less. So that's my reason why, and it's always been my reason why with Brodeur, that I look at his stats and I go, that's great. Good for him. I don't view him in the same breath as a guy like Hasek, who dragged a Buffalo Sabres team to a Stanley Cup final in '99. I don't view him the same way as Cujo even. Cujo doesn't get the respect as a legend that he deserves because he played behind some teams that were really bad defensively. His numbers were good. The teams he played behind were not. And then when he went to a good team, he had a hard time adjusting to not facing as many shots. And it was. You could tell. He lost his focus facing 20, 25 shots for the Red Wings. It's funny, too, because outside the Hall of Fame lies this kid named Chris Osgood. Osgood, I don't believe he's on the list. No, don't do that. No, Osgood's 72nd. Osgood faced 40 or more shots 20 times. And that's a big part of the reason why Chris Osgood is not talked about as a Hall of Famer. He's got the wins, he's got the shutouts, he's got all the stats, but it's known that Osgood played behind a really good Detroit team. For me, Marty was more impressive in the 2012 run to the Stanley Cup final than he was in the other runs where he won Stanley Cups. To me, it seemed like he was more important. To me, in '95, all he had to do was not allow that bad goal. And he didn't. But it is not a statement that I don't like Marty Brodeur, or I didn't like Marty Brodeur. I have his rookie cards. I don't throw his stuff away. But there are numbers and there are sites that I've gone over for years and I've found it fascinating that have said, and I'm not saying this, that Brodeur was the most overrated goalie of all time. And there are some stats people that say that. And New Jersey fans are going to argue and say, no, he wasn't. I don't agree either way. I don't think he was the most overrated goaltender ever. And no, I'm not doing a list on that. But I do think that sometimes we lose perspective on things. And for me, Brodeur was a very good goaltender. He was Vezina level at various points in his career. But even, I mean, you look at Nick Lidstrom. There were times that Nick Lidstrom would win a Norris Trophy, and I would watch and go, well, yeah, but so-and-so was better. But also, before Nick Lidstrom won his first Norris Trophy, there were seasons that he, in my eyes and in the eyes of other fans, he was the best defenseman in the league, and then he'd lose to somebody else who had that reputation, who had won the Norris before. And there was a perception at one point, like, what does Lidstrom have to do to win a Norris? So for fans of Erik Karlsson, there's hope. Once you break through and you show that you can win that trophy more than once, you then become the guy. And somebody has to beat you. You don't have to beat them. So, again, I know this is just going to probably get a lot of hate, but it's my opinion, and it's something that's always sort of bugged me. So let me know what you guys think. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And again, it is just my opinion. There's no gospel to this. You know, look at my love for Ron Tugnut. I think Tugnut went through hell as a goaltender, playing with, for the most part, crappy teams in the first part of his career, and then later on he had a decent Ottawa team and a couple other decent teams he played for, but he really had to go through a lot of losing and a lot of bad teams and a lot of bad seasons. And I always thought, you know, if he was playing in New Jersey, he'd be a winner. So it's all perception, and it's just, that's how it is. Was he a great stick handler? Yes. Marty was a great stick handler. Did his defense make that easier? Absolutely. Scott Stevens out there absolutely helps with that. Scott Niedermayer absolutely helps with that. When you have guys up in front of you like that to pass the puck to, they'll make you look great. And you can make them look great. I think it was mutually beneficial. So, you guys can let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. And again, and I even said in the generational versus franchise, this is all subjective. So, you know, like for instance, somebody else mentioned, oh, you've got Malkin as generational and not Messier. No. I never viewed Messier as being, I viewed him as being a very, very good franchise player. He was a beast. He was a horse out there. I never viewed him as being somebody that, yeah, he just, yeah. But again, that's just my opinion. And did Messier do it without Wayne? Sure. But he did it with a hell of an Oilers supporting cast. And Bill Ranford won the Conn Smythe Trophy in 1990 because Bill Ranford dragged them to that Stanley Cup. Messier was there and he helped. It's just like in 94, Brian Leach was the horse for the Rangers. Leach was one of the best. So it's all perception. So I'm sorry if I offended anybody. It's one man's opinion. Thanks for watching. I do have one more video to do before I'm done for today. I don't think it'll be two, but at least one more. I'll be talking to you guys again soon. Again, this is just for reference. I apologize this went on a bit longer. I just felt like I needed to explain my position on this. So, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.